Right. So input validation, we are going to take a quick look at how hackers or attackers direct your information you are filling on online form to their own database instead of a legit one, or how hackers used input validation vulnerabilities to access a particular database and get the information of customers. Again, I'm hoping that right in this session too, we will actually also look at passwords. Now, last week we did some practice whereby you can actually check your password and know if it is strong or something or not. Today we will also do some quick practice that will actually show that your password is found in a hacker's database. What we did last 2 weeks, yes, or so, is to check whether the password you are creating is strong enough, or the years it will take a hacker to break. Now today we will check whether the password you are using is already found in a hacker's database. Okay, so that will be the end of the session. When we are ending it, I'll give you the link. We will all try, then we end the session peacefully. It's going to be a very quick session, and I'll give you an assignment to go in about. Go ahead.
Early.
Right. Let's start. What is an input validation? An input validation. Now, input validation is performed to ensure only properly formed data is entering the workflow in an information system, preventing malformed data from persisting in the database and triggering malfunction of various downstream components. Now, in simple terms, input validation, they are measures which you as a programmer put in place so that the user or the person going to fill your form will provide the information you have defined or it is supposed to take. For example, you've created a form to take the person's name, password, email. Now, let's take the email section. You can put an input validation there whereby if the person types the email and it doesn't contain an @ sign, there is no way it's going to accept that information. So you can be witness that some forms you fill, and when you are entering your email and you don't bring the @ sign, it will tell you there is something wrong with that particular field. That is an input validation. You defined it. So sometimes you see you are filling a password, it's your own password you are creating, but when you create it, they will tell you the password is too short, or the password is too short. Use a maximum character of 8 and above. This is an input validation. Or better still, sometimes you are providing your name with a form, then you will be told, like in your name you have, let's say you have Ejekum or say. So the Ejekum, between the Ejekum or say, you have a hyphen there. But in that form, when you are typing and you bring a hyphen, it will tell you invalid input. That is an input validation. So input validation is a way of ensuring that the correct information needed for a database are input by the user, hence preventing hackers from typing anything or injecting any source of code that's going to affect the company's database. Please, any question? Right, let's begin. Let's continue rather, please. Now you can see from my screen, input validation attacks. We are going to look at the cause, the exploit, the impacts. What is an attack vector? How attackers craft attack vectors. So we will learn up to um maybe the 6 point, then I'll give the rest for you. I'll give you this reading. It's a reading material for you to go and read. The next time we meet, we are going to make a discussion, then we will proceed from there. But today I'm going to run you through from 1 to 6. Okay, then after that we do our practice and we close the class. Now, input validation attacks. Hope everyone can see my screen. You can't see my screen or something? You let me know before you get confused or something. Now, input validation attacks. Cause. What causes it? Okay, someone is talking. Clement. Yes, okay. Today we are coming to talk about input validation. Input validation. And in a more simplified term, input validation, it's actually the process of you, the programmer, making sure the person filling that form is providing the needed or the required information you need in your database. For example, sometimes you might be filling a form at the email session, you type your email without the at sign, it will tell you it is a wrong input. That is an input validation. Or sometimes you might be typing a password in a field, you type it's your own password though, but you type it, they tell you it's too short. It should be between 8 and 12. That is an input validation. So it is a way of protecting the form you, the programmer, is creating so that hackers will not just come in that form or in that field, come and type any SQL injection code to send to your database to destroy it or to steal users' data from that particular database. That's all about input validation, and that's what we are going to dive through. Now, what we are going to do is the agenda for today. 1, input validation attack, that's the cause, exploit, and impact. We also look at what is an attack vector. We also look at how attackers craft attack vectors. Then a quick look at attack vectors library. Then maybe live exploit examples. 6, how to find IV vulnerability, that's web application security assessment. The rest I will give you the reading materials for you to go and read. Now, upon closing, we will also do some quick practical session. That we will test our password to see if it's already existing in a hacker's database. Hackers, they have their database of passwords. So your password you are using, we will also test it. I'll give you the link. We will all test it, whether a password you are using is already found in a hacker's database. So that's a whole summary about where we got into. Right, let's continue. 1, the input validation attacks. Right, you are welcome. Failure to properly validate data at the entry and exit points of the application. Now, input. Now, you want to say something? Right, let's continue. Now, failure to properly validate data at the entry and exit points of the application. As I told you, this is what hackers do. If you are a programmer, or if you're a developer and you create a form, just like those in the coding class, I told you to create forms. You create a form, you don't restrict it, you just create it. When a hacker gets such forms, they have codes such as SQL injection. These are scripting messages or scripting codes. They can just paste it in that field you've created because you've not guided it, you've not protected it. Now, when they paste it there, they click on submit. It's going to take it and submit to the database. Okay. I'm thinking of maybe Saturday or so. I'll teach you guys database, a bit database. Well, let's continue. Now it will send the data to the database. When this code of the hacker gets to your database, you are doomed. It's going to the database. Now note that that piece of code the hacker has written and submitted through your form to the database is live, a live code. That means it's sometimes a code that's connecting a server. So when it gets to your database, it's going to have access to all the tables in your database. So it can be able, if you are a bank and that's your form, now the code is already in your database. It's going to take every information on each of the table column in your database. So let's say most of you know Excel, you've used Excel. So let's take Excel database. In an Excel, so maybe you have column for name, account number, password, amount, this. Now the person sends the information through one of these fields, maybe account name. It gets to the database, then it starts exploiting you. So the code will actually crawl, we call it crawl to your database. Now gets to the account name, picks every data from the column, gets to the account number, picks every data from the column, gets to this page. At the end of the day, it will be transmitting everything in the database to the hacker's database. Now you will see that at the end of the day, the hacker has the exact data the bank has. Now, this is where it starts. If I have the exact data the bank has, what do I need again? Nothing. What I need is to get the online portal of the bank and start making the transactions. So I'll just enter my bank account. The bank account, I'll enter the password. I'll transfer money from this to this, transfer money from this to this. By the end of the day, the bank will go bankrupt. We'll just transfer every money from every account. That is caused by a failed protective form, a form which failed to use input validation on its fields. Any question? Right, very quick. Exploits. Injection of malicious inputs such as code scripting commands that can be interpreted and executed by different targets to exploit vulnerabilities. Browser, data repositories, server-side file processing, application server. So this is the type of the exploit. One, we have the code. That's what I just explained, the scripting. We just paste this code into it and submit it. Now, when it's submitted, it's going to perform either of these, either the browser or data repositories or server side or application. Now, when you talk about the browser, it's going to make sure the browser, every data, you see, some of you, your browser stores your password, or every form you fill, your browser asks you to store it, and some of you also allows it, it stores it. When a hacker that gets that, is going to take every data your browser has stored. We have data repositories. So SQL, the SQL injection, this one actually targets databases. So this was the one I just explained, the data repository. So when he or she, the hacker, injects the SQL codes or the scripting codes. It gets to the database, and starts retrieving the information he or she wants. We have the server-side file processing. This is where actually when the hacker's code gets to the server, you are doomed. For that one, you are doomed because your whole server, that's where your everything passes. When you are making a transaction, that's where it passes. So he or she can do everything with the path on the server, can break down the server, can shut down the server. Now we have the application server OS file upload. Now here too, some forms. You see, we have some forms. It can tell you, or it tells you to upload a file. If you don't restrict such uploads, then you say, oh, upload any file. The hacker will come and upload a .sql file or .scripting file. The file will be uploaded to your server, and it's going to the hacker remotely will execute that file on your server. Please execute. Execute means run. Those doing the coding, those in the coding class, execute your code to run. So you execute the file on your server, then we'll start exploiting your server. Right, we have 10 minutes. We have impact. How are these going to, why is it going to happen when a hacker actually does any of these? Phishing, information disclosure, data alteration, degradation of service, financial loss, that's fraud, reputation loss. In fact, all these you are going to get, as I explained, they will steal your data. They will actually send messages, in fact, in the name of your company. So your customer will be then and be receiving some message. In fact, some of you have experienced that mostly with MTN. Sometimes MTN with the name MTN will send you some message. If you don't take it and you follow, you'll be hard. That's type of that means someone has actually gotten to that server. So they can send message in a form that's legit. You see the message, but if you are tempted and you actually click on it, you are doomed. They can do financial loss, that's what I explained. So they get this data, they start transmitting money, transferring money. So the money will be transferred from account A to account B to account C. This is how they actually does it. They first get your form, in fact, exploit it, putting all these codes. Then after getting to the server or your browser or your database, they start doing all these. Please, any question? Now, IV attack example. So we are coming to look at a typical example of this. Look at my diagram well. Let me try and zoom this thing. Okay. Now, this is a bank server. This is a bank server. This is a hacker server. So the hacker is sitting somewhere. You, the hacker, you are sitting somewhere, and this is the bank server. Now, this is the customers come. So this is where you call them, is it the tellers or something? Yes, those who give you the money. So this is the teller. Now, you, the customer, you go to this teller and you want to withdraw money from your account. So you give every detail, then you process. Now, when you after inputting, the teller inputs everything and send a request to this real bank server that's going to retrieve your money, or to actually activate the transferring or the transmission of your money from here. Now, when the request is sent, you realize the request on this side, the person sitting here knows that he or she has just sent a request to the rails, but the request has been sent twice. One is going to the real bank account, that the real server, and one is going to the hacker's server because he or she has already injected this code in their database. Okay, now he sent a request. The hacker received the same request. When it gets here, now the real bank server says, okay, proceed to withdraw this amount of money from this account. Immediately, this real server issues this command. The hacker also gets it. So the hacker can also withdraw that amount of money from that specific account. This is done by code injection using the input or the form the mistake the programmer did by not protecting the form. This is what is causing. The teller will send a request to withdraw an amount from a specific account. The same request is sent to the attacker. So the attacker sitting in his or her room knows whatever is happening at the bank, knows whatever transaction that is going on. The real server says, okay, go ahead and withdraw this amount from this particular account. The attacker also gets the same access. So instead of maybe withdrawing 500 cedis or 1,000 Ghana, the hacker will decide, maybe he can decide to say, I will withdraw all. So the command will come and it is empty because the hacker has already taken it. Or the hacker will decide, the real bank server sent 1,000. By the time it gets here, the hacker has taken 500. So by the time the teller will say, okay, the teller will see that it's just 500 which came. It means he or she has to request another 500. So he or she will request another 500. Now, when he or she requests another 500, know that you, the person, your amount of money in your bank account is going to reduce. Here, you won't know. Now, the bank will find out that no, there is something wrong with that account. Quickly, they will use their own money to fill that account. That's what's happening in real world to most banks. Daily, you, the customers, your hackers are stealing your money day in and day out. But the banks, they don't tell you. They just produce it, just replace it there so that they won't lose customers. But this is happening to most banks. Sometimes they will check their account, they will run the checks. At the end of the day, they will see this particular account didn't do withdrawal today, but in that account, there has been withdrawal to a different channel. They have to quickly fill it before you find out. All because of a mistake a programmer did somewhere. So most banks, you'll be there, this bank has collapsed, they run loss because they are paying you, the customers, every day, every time, because they are being attacked by this and they can't say it to you because they will lose customers. Any question? Now, the next one we are going to look at is SQL injection. This is so funny. Now, you would want to actually make purchase, or you've actually purchased something on an e-commerce platform and you want to pay it. The attacker inputs a certain code called SQL injection. This is a scripting code, SQL injection. Now, this is what it does. This SQL injection takes every input of that form. So whatever you are going to input in that form is going straight to the attacker's database. So You see, after you've done everything, proceed to cart. They will tell you proceed to cart, enter your card, something, something. Now you go there, as ignorant as you are, you just enter your credit card number, you enter your name, you enter your 3 digit numbers, then off you go. Now the attackers obtain credit card numbers. So applications send modified query to database such as, so it will take your name. So this SQL injection, this is what it takes. It requests for your name, your phone number, address, credit card, everything, then send it to the attacker. So the attacker is going to have exact information. Please, our class will end any moment. We will rejoin again. Please kindly join very quick for it to make it very fast. We will rejoin again and continue. And share the link in your group too.